We hold the vision. We have to continue to hold that vision. We don't move off that vision. If we move off the vision is not going to be made manifest. So we hold tight. It's almost an opportunity to just like hunker down and put the foot down, or two if you've got two right now to put down, to like
crutches down.
Yeah, put it down and stay the course. It's like, it's like Gandalf. I just love that visual. It's like, we are not moving off this vision, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to hold on to that vision and not let it go no matter what is happening around us.
Our topic for the month is the big leap. And it's a little scary, isn't it? Think about that beautiful picture. Right? How many of us are actually willing to leap out of the bowl that we're in, where we're nourished, where we have our friends, and go sailing through the air and trust that that other bowl, that bigger bowl, that fuller, richer, deeper, more meaningful life is actually there waiting for us. But we are not going to make it unless we jump out of the bowl we're in, unless we're willing to make that big leap. And CSLDallas and Karen and I, right, we believe that this is our spiritual laboratory within which to do that. This is our spiritual laboratory within which to experience, explore, and try out these things. And we believe that our organization, our community, us as leaders, our leadership, we need to be practicing these things right along with you. Right? We need to be bringing our spiritual practices to bear in our own lives and in the life of our community. So, as you heard from Cheryl and Joe this morning, our Adventures in Spirit goal this year was a huge leap for CSLDallas. That was a big leap and a massive declaration and commitment about the size of the next bowl that we're leaping into.
Yes.
Yes. And we're somewhere where that fish is.
We're close.
Or maybe almost into the bowl, right? We're sort of still in leap, aren't we? We're kind of in the process, which is often where we find ourselves, isn't it? And as Alex so beautifully sung with the choir, right? Sometimes it's challenging, and when it feels like it's a challenge and life is getting us down, or it's not coming the way we thought it was going to come, it's not happening the way we'd hoped it was going to be happening, or we simply find ourselves in the middle of that trajectory going, well, I can't say out loud on a Sunday morning what we might say to ourselves. So I'll let your whatever you say to yourself in those moments, right? And so this is a very common place that we find ourselves in. And our theme for AIS, seeing is believing is seeing is a believing, right? It's fundamental to what we teach. Believe in your good, set a goal, and we often start with simple things. Get a parking place, make a little money, manifest something, demonstrate something, right? And so we believe it, and then we see it. And that seeing it causes us to believe more. And so then we can try something a little bigger, and then we believe more, and we see it, and we believe it, and we see it, and these things are mutually supportive. It grows our belief. And then we decide to make that really big leap, and we believe it, and we don't quite see it because we're in process. And what do we do in that moment? This is a critical part of our spiritual growth and maturity. What do we do in that moment when we're in that place? And so, yes, we have a slide for our quote. If I cling to the notion that something's not possible, I'm arguing in favor of limitation. And if I argue for my limitation, I get to keep them. Gay Hendricks, from our beautiful book, The Big Leap, right? This is an extraordinarily excellent, very practical, down-to-earth book that we're going to be using all month. It really helps us explore this process. But we can find ourselves in that moment of leaping to that next thing, and it's not quite there yet, which, as Joe says, is we realize it's not yet the end. And yet sometimes in that moment, we don't realize that. So what are the two things that stand in our way when we're in this situation where our leap has not yet fully completed or manifested? So two things can happen in this moment. Some of us, we simply we start to try to figure it out. Right? We try to figure out what needs to happen and how are we going to make it work and what are we going to do. And because we are uncertain about the leap in the first place and we're a little fearful and it hasn't quite worked out, we decide that because we don't know how it's going to work, that it's not going to work. That which we were believing in, we're actually not going to see. And we pull back, don't we? And
sometimes we don't even take a leap to begin with from the get-go because we don't have enough of the how.
Right, because we haven't figured it out all.
That's right.
Right, so we don't even leap in the first place, right? Or the other thing that can happen, and I can't tell you how many times I see this, is that we decide to take the leap with no evidence whatsoever. And nothing but what we would call magical thinking. And we leap. I can't tell you how many people I've seen who say, well, I'm just going to do spiritual work. I'm no longer going to work in the corporate world. I'm just going to do spiritual work, quit their job, and then try to build a business that is spiritually grounded. And often 3 or 4 or 5 years later, I see them back in the corporate world doing the thing they hated. And they say to me, it didn't work. Therefore, it doesn't work. But we have a way of understanding this that allows us to engage without magical thinking and without the need to have figured it all out, right? This is the deep and profound spiritual paradox and the growth that we ourselves need to do in this practice so that when we find ourselves in this place, in this moment in our lives, we know how to proceed.
Yeah, there's a quote, there's something that Colin Powell says, and it's especially true, I think, for women. I'm not sure, but there's this thing that we must, before we even leap and before we go, that we must know everything. We have to know all about it before we even start to move, and he talks about that he actually, and making a decision to make a leap or make a decision to do something that he believes that you really only need about 40% of what you need to know before you make that decision, before you make that leap. And you certainly, he says, don't need more than 70. So see, there's not 100% required. And like Petra said, sometimes we get caught in this, it holds us back. We're like that lizard on that wall that's not even about to leap yet because we feel like we have to know all the hows. All the hows and all the knowledge and all the everything. Yeah, and then, like she said, and then there's the whole extreme where we actually don't know enough. We're not at the 40% and we're doing magical thinking and we just leap.
Right.
And that's messy too.
And that's messy too, right? So leaping without information, leaping without a deep spiritual practice, leaping without an understanding about both the spiritual work that we need to do and the physical work we do, that is a leap to crash. When we are overly invested in absolutely knowing everything that we need to know about how it's going to be done, then that is a failure to leap, right? And what we want to do is we don't want to do either of those things. But the other thing that we can also do is we have a fabulous picture of this, right? The other thing is we get to this point and then we just stop, right? And that's that that's that idea that we stop, that it's darkest before the dawn. and we've done our spiritual work, and we do our spiritual practice, and we do the work, and we think, oh my God, it's just not happening, or I'm just not getting there, or and we pull back, and over and over and over again, time and time and time again, we pull back just before we break through. Right? And so these are the places, these are the things, and I'm guessing, do you recognize one of these places as a place where you can sometimes go? Yeah, right? We all do this, right? And we all want to, so we keep ourselves from leaping, we leap to crash, or we stop short, and in every case, what do we say? We say, well, it's not working, or it's not going to work. And so we don't have that full, complete experience. So what do we do?
What do we do? Yes. I'm so glad you joined us today. That makes you a part of CSLDallas, and we love that our community continues to grow. And we also love to give great spiritual content. And a way that you can participate in our community is financially give to it. It's easy to do so. Go to CSLDallas.org and hit the give button. Or you can set up a text giving mechanism at 972-954-4404, a safe and secure way to send us money whenever you watch a great message like this. So thanks for giving, and buckle up, because here comes the spiritual content. And because we want to keep building that belief. And so the key thing is that we absolutely have to apply some of our key spiritual principles and practices. And we have to get to work. And we have to stay focused on that. The first one is, it is so key and critical, and that's what we've been doing as an entire community, as our Adventure in Spirit Committee has been doing. We hold the vision. We have to continue to hold that vision. We don't move off that vision. If we move off the vision is not going to be made manifest. So we hold tight. It's almost an opportunity to just like hunker down and put the foot down, or two if you've got two right now to put down, to like
crutches down.
Yeah, put it down and stay the course. It's like, it's like Gandalf. I just love that visual. It's like, we are not moving off this vision, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to hold on to that vision and not let it go no matter what is happening around us. Because if we allow that which has just happened outside of us to let us go, you know what, maybe, just maybe, we weren't supposed to hold this vision of a prosperous community, of a prosperous life, or, the most magnificent marriage one could be in, or whatever it is. We have to continue to hold that vision and stay the course.
And we also have to be flexible with the form. And I think it's the form where we often get into this, locked into figuring out how it's going to look. How is it going to manifest? How is this last little bit going to happen? And we can become very invested in a particular form. Well, this is the way it's going to happen. That is not a vision.
Someone sigh, big sigh. I heard the big sigh.
That is not the vision. The vision is the end result.
Right.
And the end result, quite truthfully, is not $936,200. The end result is what CSLDallas, the next big fishbowl that we're going to be when we have that much or more in money, in kind, in gifts, in who knows how that's going to come. Do you see?
In faith and in belief.
So it's that believing in the vision, not in the form. Does that make sense to you? Right? This becomes critical because we can think that by holding the ground that we are holding on to the form. No, we are holding on to the end result, which is a prosperous community that is doing all the things that we collectively believe and agree is ours to do for ourselves and for the world and for the community and for our families and for our workplaces and all of the ways in which we engage in our spiritual deepening. And so Do you see the difference? And so we want to be utterly unwavering about that vision. And we know that that vision takes a lot. It's going to take a lot. And so we put a dollar number on it. And that dollar number is a great number. And we're going to keep working towards it and keep holding it. And it may actually come in who knows what ways, who knows who from, who knows how. Do you see? And so that is what we absolutely unwaveringly look at. The other piece then is how often we're in the midst of the leap and we stop looking for the good and praising it. And what we do is we focus on the gap. We focus on what's not working. So what we want to do is look for the good and praise it, right? So Joe and Cheryl did a beautiful opportunity to evidence what that looks like. We are 95% of our goal. Yes, that is pretty darn good, right?
Of a big leap.
Of a huge leap.
Huge leap.
And that's more than we've ever had before.
In 55 years of this community.
That's more than we've ever had before in a single pledge campaign. So, are we? Yes, right.
Look for the good and praise it.
Now, does that mean we're going to stop? No, but that means we can see, look how much is happening. Look for that good and stay focused on that and continue to praise that and be, well, it's also November. It's the month of gratitude, right? Well, let's be grateful for how far we've already come. Right? Let's be grateful for that. How far we've already come. And that's the case in any leap that we're making. Because when we stop being grateful, that's often when we stop short.
Yeah, Ernest Holmes says, never look at that which you do not want to experience. So right now, we're not to look at what we don't want to experience. We want to look at what is it that we do want to experience.
You want the whole quote?
So he also says that no matter what the false condition may be, it must be refuted. Okay, so in our case right now as a community, it's like, oh, we've missed the mark. Actually, no, we're refuting that. We have not missed the mark. As Joe said, we're just not there yet. We're not in the big fishbowl yet, right? We're going. The proper kind of a denial is based upon the recognition that in reality, there is no limitation. There is no limitation that this community can do together, collectively, right? For mind can as easily make a planet as an acorn. The infinite knows no difference between $1 million and a penny. So that's the vision that we've hold, is that we are over $1 million community. Do you know, less than 6 years ago, we were about half that. Okay, look what we're doing collectively, and we're holding the vision for that big leap.
So the other thing in the looking for the good and praising it, and the process here is to have the disciplined thought, which is the not looking at what we don't want, but looking at what we do want. So the difference right now, I don't remember exactly what the number was, about $50,000, right?
$44,000.
The difference is $44,000. Now, for some of us, $44,000, if you think about your own life, your own personal life, you might look at $44,000 and go, oh my God, that's a lot. Wow, that's a lot of money. But if you look at the percentage, it's 5%. Do you rush right out to the store for a 5% sale? Right? Okay, I'm not even thinking about it until it's 10 or 20%. Okay, 25% off, now we're talking.
I might go shopping for 50.
Now that's a big deal, right? And do you see? So the disciplined thought is also thinking about how we're thinking about it. How are we looking at whatever is we're not there yet, whatever that is in our own lives, if it's time or money or we've just about got the business built, or I haven't quite learned something yet, or whatever that is. Where is our disciplined thinking? And are we making it bigger than it is? Can we make it smaller than it looks? because the universe doesn't know a difference between $1 million and a penny. What we have to do is make $1 million look like a penny to us. Do you see? The universe doesn't know the difference. But when we know that $1 million is as easy as a penny, the law has to say yes. It's our limitation that stands in the way of that, or our need to figure it out, or our need to simply go, well, I'm just going to be in denial of it, and I'm just going to pretend it's all going to happen, right? It's our work to then have the discipline of our consciousness.
So, yes, so let's just look at what this, I like to do this. This is how, before becoming a spiritual leader, I was in sales and marketing, so I'd do that all the time. I wasn't attached to the form, but if we look at $44,000, wow, that's like 44 people deciding to give CSLDallas $1,000 all of next year. Not a month, just all of next year, right? Or you could play with that. Oh, well, that's about 80 people, 500, you see, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so doable. There are at least, some people that haven't heard about this pledge campaign.
Or it's one person
or
it's one company saying, I think we want to rent your space for every month for $10,000 a month.
Right.
Who knows, right? Who knows?
So not to be attached to the form, but not let go of that. And what we know in the science of mind is it tells us that we learn that persistent, constructive thought is the greatest power known and the most effective. So all of us now have to have that persistent, consistent thought for the community, and we must continue to do that, whatever we're leaping into, and it's not yet manifested, it's not clearly here yet. We have to keep giving that persistent, consistent thought to that which we want, and that's where we're headed to. And it's that persistency and consistency, and we say that all the time. It just can't be one and then back off. It's just consistent and persistent.
Yes, absolutely. And so I'm just looking here. I want to see this lovely quote. This is the quote from Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison says this, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up.
Right.
The persistent and consistent and constructive thinking is what gets us over that gap so that we don't give up, so that we continue to move forward. And what causes us to give up, the other things are our fear and uncertainty. And so let's just be clear that in the process of making a big leap, it is quite likely, quite possible, that fear and uncertainty will arise. What do you think? Right? So first of all, the good news is fear and uncertainty tells you that you are moving out of your comfort zone. If you are not feeling fear and uncertainty, you are not leaping out of the fishbowl. You are rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic.
Oh, the Titanic.
Right? You are not leaping to a new boat, a new ship, a new idea, a new something. And so we have to make friends with fear and uncertainty. We have to not think of it as, oh, well, that means I'm not supposed to do this, or I don't know how to get through this, or I don't know what to do. Right? We have to deal with our fear and our uncertainty head on. Now, this is where we also move into our grown-up spirituality, because we aren't doing magical thinking. We're not in denial that we have psychological reality to our emotional states, that we don't have responses to things that are going on, or even old reactions. We want to have a grown-up spirituality that really allows us to deal with the wholeness of our lives. And one of that is to acknowledge that, yes, in fact, fear and uncertainty can come up. And sometimes I even say, if you really are making a big leap like this and you feel a lot of fear, right there is the work. Follow the fear. The fear will tell you where the false belief is. The fear will tell you and show you where we have not yet moved into a deep and abiding trust in the laws of the universe. The fear will tell you how you are trying to keep yourself comfortable and secure from a human physical point of view. So actually you can even celebrate it and go, right there is where the work is being called for. And so that work is the spiritual practices that we've been talking about. Another spiritual practice that I talk about a lot that is hugely important in this very place is the building of what I call spiritual double vision. You know how when you get, people, I haven't done this yet. I don't know that I'm going to try, but you know people, maybe some of you in the room, you have the one contact lens that's for near, that's for reading, and the other contact lens that's for far.
Monovision, I have it.
Right? And you have to teach your brain, when I'm reading, I use this eye, and when I'm driving, I use that eye, right? And so it's a brain function. You have to teach your brain which eye to look out of based on what it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And you're actually looking at both eyes at the same time. You're just switching your focus. So even if you're driving, right, you look at one eye to drive and you look at the other eye to look at the speedometer. And you're just switching your focus. Well, this is what I believe is a deeply profound spiritual practice that we can do. That we must learn how to do. And that is to keep one eye on the vision, one eye on the absolute spiritual truth, the perfection of abundance, of wholeness, of the outcome that we want, and one eye on the current physical experience and current physical reality, which allows us to keep one eye on, wow, I'm feeling fearful. Wow, I'm being uncertain. I'm feeling uncertain. I don't know how this is going to work out. And by being able to do both of these things simultaneously, do you see, we get to see that only the absolute is perfect. Only the absolute is perfect. Only the spiritual truth is perfect. The moment spiritual truth is brought into physical form, we instantly have something that is not perfect. It's not the perfectness of the absolute reality. And what we do is we say, well, because it's not perfect, it's not right. It's not working. It's not okay. But do you see, when we can do these two things simultaneously, I can see how the physical outpicturing is moving closer and closer and fuller expression. I can watch my fear. I can look at my uncertainty. I can apply my spiritual practice to it, all the while being absolutely dedicated to focusing on the spiritual truth, the spiritual vision. And that spiritual vision has to pull the physical reality towards it, right? That's the law. That's how the universe works. And they may never be identical. Do you see that? Just look at the trees. Look at a tree that's been blasted with lightning. And it has that one limb that's still growing. It's not a perfect tree, is it? And yet it's perfectly being a tree, is it not? It's perfectly fulfilling its purpose. Look at all the different trees and the ways that they are perfectly fulfilling their purpose, but they are not the perfect tree. Do you see the difference? Do you see what I'm saying? And so this double vision keeps us from beating ourselves up for being afraid, beating ourselves up for being uncertain, beating ourselves up for, having a moment, and allows us to keep letting the vision pull us forward.
Absolutely. Think about this, behind the scenes. You could imagine that some of us were seeing the results as we went. Yes? Can you imagine that? Like the tally, right, of the goal.
Here at CSLDallas.
Yes, right? So the thing that we're talking about. So I was one of those people that was seeing the tally. And it was like Tuesday, not even a week, less than a week. We were over $200,000 less than where we're standing today, right? So fear creeps in. So it's holding this double vision, and then what do I have to do with this fear? The fear of, oh my gosh, we're not going to make this. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so embarrassing. Oh my gosh, whatever it is, whatever fear, like how are we going to do this? We're so far away from this goal. And every time that would come up within me, and certainly some of the other AIS committee members, I would imagine, because they knew where we were on Tuesday night, how far away we were still from the goal. We have to take one of the best spiritual practices we have, and that's spiritual mind treatment. And what affirmative prayer is all about is to go back within myself. Every time that came up, we're not going to hit the goal. That's fear. Like, we're not going to get there. And I would induce the belief that we're there, we're there, we're there, we're there. And by inducing that belief and believing that at all times and not letting fear take hold, we got closer and closer and closer. I mean, it was like a snowball. I mean, we moved mountains in 5 days-ish, right? And it's like, boom. And yet, so we have to do something with that fear. We have to, inside of ourselves, induce the belief, and basically we can't just let go of the fear. You can't just drop the fear. You have to replace it with something. I replaced it with faith, with trust, with knowing that there is an abundance within this community. I kept seeing everybody so prosperous, not giving us money, but so prosperous that they felt so in faith that they could give from something that they felt was just so abundant in their own life.
Well, and you guys also did some things, right? And this is where we say treat and move your feet.
That was part two, yes, but that's okay, go for it.
Well, I don't know what all you did, but I watched you guys do all kinds of things,
we
right?
did.
And so
we did. We had to move. We couldn't just, it's a both and. So we are doing spiritual mind treatment, and we're talking about 9 people doing this. And then guess what? The whole committee, we started making phone calls. We started touching in with people. And people were like, oh my gosh, I just forgot. Sorry. Well, will you go to the website and do a pledge card and boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And some of those calls, I bet, even for me, sometimes it's scary to ask for something. And so we just kept moving in the direction for the sake of this entire community.
But do you see how the spiritual work and the physical work together? Right? In the trying to figure out how, we are 100% totally in the physical realm. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and oh my God, if that doesn't work, then what am I going to do? And I don't know how this is going to all work out, right? And when we're only in, well, I'm just going to know the Spirit's going to take care of everything. I'm just going to sit over here, and I'm just going to hope it drops into my lap. Do you see we're in magical thinking? Right? Because our spiritual work informs the way in which we engage in the world. So if we're in the middle of a big leap and we're not quite there yet, and we're in that moment of, oh my gosh, now what? Do you see, both of those things are required. And that's why I say this is spiritually mature, grown-up work. This is grown-up spirituality that all of us are practicing together. That delicate balance, that deep understanding that I treat and I move my feet. I do my spiritual work and I engage in the world. And both of these things are things I'm doing, and both of them are providing me with information. The spiritual work is providing me with intuition and guidance, and the physical work is providing me with feedback. Yes, you're going in the right direction. Oh, wait a minute, that door didn't work. Let's close that door and go to another one. Do you see, this beautiful dance is part of this spiritual double vision that I'm talking about, because we are embodied spiritual beings. We don't just live in the spiritual world. but we also don't just live in the physical world, right? It's always the both and the working of these in concert together is where the magic happens, right? And then it's not magical thinking, it is really what creates extraordinary miracles. And of course, we know that they're not miracles. It's just the universal law working itself out, working out in the favor of the work that we ourselves are doing. And so we're not just doing this because we think we can. We do this because we understand the universal principles and laws that we're working with. We understand that there is a law of cause and effect, that there is a law of attraction, there is a law of circulation, and that we are participating in these laws. We understand that what we think about and believe to be true is what is outpictured. So we pay attention to all of that. Do you see? Because we are using laws and principles in a deliberate and focused manner. And this is what allows this dance to take place. Ernest Holmes says, it is the nature of thought to externalize itself, to bring about conditions which must exactly correspond to the thought. But if we wish to demonstrate our good, we must recognize that demonstration is accomplished through law, not through me, not by making it or willing it. It is accomplished through law. We must faithfully and fervently declare that the law of mind is perfect and that this law is operating in our experience now. And so when we talk about whatever leap we're in, when we talk about where we are with the AIS campaign, the Adventures in Spirit Pledge Program, when we talk about where you are as you are leaping into the next thing that is wanting to be birthed from you, right? We have to pay attention to our thoughts and our words because that's what the law is using. And so how we tell the story about it, right? Going back to, are we looking for the good? Are we focusing on the gap? Do we see how far we've come? Are we paying attention to the words and thoughts that we are using to narrate basically the outcome into being? We narrate the vision into reality by how we think about it and how we talk about it. Because this is the universal law that we are forever using in our life. This is true for us as a community, which is why we're using Adventures in Spirit as an example, right? This is a real life example. Here we are. And I'm guessing that many of you have like, oh yeah, I remember being in that spot in my life in lots of different ways, right? This is true for us as a community. It's true for us as individuals. And it's true for our nation and our planet. It always works in the same way. It always works exactly like this, because ultimately we are using spiritual principles and universal laws in the making of this leap.
Yeah. This is the time. This is truly the time for us collectively to hold on to this vision. We have a 2020 vision, and this next year, we know, is like a breakout year for this community. There are breadcrumbs already proving that to be true before this year ends. And so we're holding on to this vision. And Ernest Holmes tells us that within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. I just want us to just soak in the fact that 217 people, that is a small group of people. If we look at between 7.7 billion people, right, one could say 217 is an acorn. 217 is a penny. We could say that. But if we look at collectively the faith, the belief, and the trust of the 217 people so far, have committed to over $900,000 next year. I call that a planet.
Yes.
I call that a million. And so we hold on to this vision. Money is a symbol. It's a symbol. And it's a tangible symbol. So what this is saying is that all of us here believe that this community is helping to change our own lives individually and changing each of our lives collectively. It's helping to transform Dallas. It's helping to transform the country. It's helping to transform the world. And that's the vision I want us to hold on to more than anything else. This is our big leap, that a small group of people in Dallas, Texas, decided that they were going to take a stand and they were going to be radically inclusive. I mean radically inclusive. We hear about this all the time, that people can feel seen and heard and feel safe and loved in this community. Whether they live here or not, when they come through just for one Sunday, they wish that they lived here. Mm-hmm. We broke a new mark, I want to share with you, that someone that lives not in this immediate area took foundations class earlier this year, online. Came in, 2 people actually, one flew in and one drove in to do the workshop. Those of you that have taken foundations class, you know that Saturday workshop. So they made a point to be here physically, so to be with everybody in person. And then they went back home. But they actually feel connected to this community. Someone that took foundations earlier this year made a significant pledge. This person wants to now take new member class. So now we're going to do that online. We're going to have hundreds and thousands of people that we may not touch physically and rub elbows with and hug their neck on a Sunday morning, but this community is transforming lives way beyond this place. I want you to know that. A significant pledge. And this person I had a conversation because actually this person was on my list to call. And we had this beautiful conversation. They're like, I want to become a member. This is my community. This is who I'm connected to. And they're looking at how they can be connected, and they're not looking at, I don't live there.
Yeah. Looking for what's possible,
right?
and instead of
they're looking at what's possible.
Instead of looking at the gap of distance.
Right? That
Pretty
they don't
amazing.
live here. Mm-hmm. We're going into a whole new realm collectively because we're holding the vision. So keep holding the vision. Hold the vision. We know that we've reached this goal. We hold the vision that there is more financial prosperity coming to this community than we can ever imagine. We hold that for you in your life every single day. And collectively, we're taking the big leap right here, right now, in this community.
So I'm going to close with the rest of this Ernest Holmes quote. I'd like you to just close your eyes, take a breath, go within. As we go within, I just invite you to hear these words. Within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. Ours is the privilege of giving birth to it. The world is saturated with divinity, immersed in reality, and filled with possibility. We take this divine possibility and mold it into a present actuality in our everyday experience. Within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. Yes. Ours is the privilege of giving birth to it. And so this morning, as we breathe together, let us know that we are giving birth to the next big leap in our own lives, to a greater realization of the divine presence, to a deeper understanding of the universal laws, to a richer practice of spirituality in every moment of every day, to a more fulfilling contribution to our own lives to our families, to our workplaces, to life itself. That limitless possibility in this moment today is birthed. And in the next moment, it is birthed again. That it is our privilege to birth new creations, new forms, new life into the world. That is the vision of who we have come here to be. There is a limitless possibility in the universe. It is our privilege to birth it. Today we say yes.
Yes.
To that in every way possible. So just take a breath. See how fully supported you are in the leap. And let us leap together. And so it is.
So it is.